The e-resource of this episode is Naxos Music Library, streaming music from the world's most extensive online classical music library. The Naxos Music Library collection includes over 175,000 discs and 2.7 million tracks, composer biographies, guides by era and country, dictionaries and pronunciation guides. You'll find Naxos music in the e-audiobooks section of our e-library, jocolibrary.org/e-library.
Libraries are creative hubs. When you walk into a library, you are literally surrounded by creativity.
JOCOLIBRARY Uncovered.
Hi, Charles.
Hey, Dave.
Guess what?
What's that?
It's quiz time.
Quiz time?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a quote, and you're going to tell me if it was Picasso, Van Gogh, Matisse, or Warhol who said it. Sound good?
Okay. I'll do my best.
Here's the first one. Every child is an artist. The problem is staying an artist when you grow up. Was that Picasso, Van Gogh, Matisse, or Warhol?
I'm going to go Warhol?
No, that was Pablo Picasso.
Pablo Picasso.
Here's number 2. If you can hear a voice within you say, "You cannot paint," then by all means, paint, and that voice will be silenced.
That sounds like Van Gogh to me.
That was Van Gogh.
Okay.
Here's number 3. Creativity takes courage.
Okay.
Picasso, Van Gogh, Matisse, or Warhol?
Creativity takes courage. I'll go with Matisse.
It was Matisse. And finally, let's see if you end up 500 or 3-1. Let's go with this question. Don't think about making art. Just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad. Whether they love it or hate it, while they are deciding, make even more art.
I'm going to use process of elimination and assume that you're not repeating anybody and go with Warhol.
Yeah, I mean, really, that guy was about volume. And so the second part of our quiz, here's a question for you. Why the heck did we start this episode of the podcast giving quotations from different artists?
I think I actually know this one.
Oh.
That's because our subject today, our deep dive, is going to be on the arts.
Yes, it's the Arts Extravaganza. And part 3, why? Why would we have an arts deep dive as part of JOCOLIBRARY Uncovered?
It's a good question. I don't know. Why is that?
The reason we're doing it for the month of April is that April has several arts-related holidays.
Okay.
And I'm going to read them all to you. It's National Poetry Month. It's National Poetry Writing Month. It's National Film Score Day. It's National Encourage a Young Writer Day. It's National 8-Track Tape Day. It's National Barbershop Quartet Day. It's National Haiku Poetry Day. It's National Record Store Day. It's National Talk Like Shakespeare Day. It's National Library Outreach Day. It's National Tell a Story Day. It's
That's
National
a lot of
Poem in a Pocket Day.
days.
It's National Great Poetry Reading Day.
I think we can just simplify it and say that today's just going to be a deep dive into the arts in this episode of JOCOLIBRARY Uncovered. But first, this from our news desk.
Library News.
All right, and so to begin our arts deep dive, we have brought in some special guests, and they are from our local arts committee. Would you please introduce yourselves?
Yes. My name is Brian Vole. I am the local arts librarian. I'm also an adult reference librarian. Been with the library for about 15, 16 years or so.
Great. Welcome.
I'm Jen Van Osbury. I'm an information specialist, and I've been with the library for 5 years.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome to you both. We're so glad
Thank you.
to have you. We're going to kind of divide up the responsibility of the question asking, and I'm going to start. And I'm going to start with you, Brian. So I'm going to keep it more general, and then Charles is going to get into some more of the specifics. So my first question is really about the library's relationship with local arts, and let's talk a little bit about exhibitions. So why does the library have art to begin with?
That is a great question, and I could go on and on. I'm going to keep it to the point for the sake of the podcast. Now, libraries are creative hubs. When you walk into a library, you are literally surrounded by creativity. The books on the shelves, the DVDs, the music CDs that we have, you are surrounded by creativity. And so it makes sense to carry that creative vibe over to the space of the library. So we have, in the Johnson County Library System, 10 branches with dedicated art space. And so we have visual art on the walls at these 10 galleries.
Yeah.
And the art is created by local, Kansas City metro area artists.
How do you go about recruiting these artists?
There are a few different ways that we connect with local artists. We have partnerships with a couple of arts organizations, one of which is the Interurban Art House. The other one is the Arts Asylum. And so one way is we get artists through our arts partnerships.
Okay.
So they have a wide network of artists that they work with.
Sure.
So we get artists through them. The other way is through direct invitation of artists. So if there's somebody that we want to invite to show their work in the library, it's direct invitation. The other way that we have is through a submission or an application form on our website. And anybody can submit to participate in the exhibitions program. And that's the local arts, visual arts program is called Exhibitions.
Yeah. Well, hey, just an observation, there seems to be such a wide variety of artistic styles and mediums represented in these exhibitions. I'm assuming that's all intentional.
We strive for maximum diversity in both the style of art and the artist. So that is intentional. We want to get as good a representation of the different types of art being created and the types of artists who are making the art as possible. And we're not perfect, but that's what we strive for.
Yeah. And it's always such a surprise to me when I walk out and either there's a new exhibition up or there's not an exhibition. And I think probably the most fun social media post I had this past year was when I took a picture of the blank walls and said it was a minimalist exhibition.
Yes.
But honestly, the exhibition that had just gone down before you were transitioning to something new was an artist that used to be I want to say the CEO of Hallmark. I'm getting this totally wrong, but a fantastic exhibition. Can you talk a little bit about that one?
You are referring to Patty Streeper.
Yes.
And Patty Streeper's large-scale portraits of women, historical women, both really well-known and not so well-known.
And the not so well-known, some of those were some of our founding librarians.
Yes.
She recreated a photograph, a very iconic photograph of our bookmobile from the 1950s.
Yes, yeah. And that exhibit was at the Central Resource Library last fall. Now, there is a part of that exhibit that is now showing at the Gardner Library through April 21st.
Oh, very
So
cool.
the paintings that you're referring to of the founders, some of the founders of the Johnson County Library, those are currently on display at the Gardner Library through April 21st.
Very cool. Well, I want to bring in Jen, if that's okay. Jen, can we talk about some other ways besides just the exhibitions that different ways that arts are experienced in the library?
Sure. I brought a big stack of books with me, some just different books that I found throughout the library. And there's things I like about each book to kind of feed creativity. I'll start with a couple of graphic novels. So graphic novels are one of my favorite genres. It's a story communicated as much with pictures as it is with words. I don't know if I want to go into the titles of these, but I brought one that is dealing with a girl as she kind of works through going through the pandemic, working through her depression, and experiencing her creativity. But she's able to show really complicated emotions through her imagery and her text.
Okay, and what was that one?
So this is called It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood.
Okay.
So that's a graphic fiction novel.
So graphic novels through the collection would be one way people experience art.
Yeah.
In addition, yeah.
Yeah, and then I also have an artist journal here. So this is artwork, or it's a diary of Frida Kahlo's work. So it's got rough sketches, handwriting, and kind of some beginnings of larger artworks. So you can see her ideas and how they've pieced together. But just to flip through these pages, it's very visually stimulating. Just it's nothing finished. It's just work in progress or work.
It's almost voyeuristic. I don't know if that's the appropriate word, but I mean, it looks like you're looking at somebody's journal where they're writing down their thoughts, but also, jotting down some little sketches and things.
Yeah.
Very colorful.
What I love about especially that example, Jen, is that is one example of many in our collection of showing the creative process for an artist that is well known, and these are replications of an actual journal that I find really inspiring. To get the creative juices flowing. You can see how an actual established artist, wrote and made sketches. And
So we might be familiar with her finished artworks, but maybe we've never seen the creative process being written out. So a true treasure. Yeah.
Some inspiration there, it seems like.
Yes.
Some cool ways to get inspired.
And then I've got another book here, and this is it's entitled How to Read Chinese Paintings. So the Nelson Atkins Museum has an exhibit currently through July 9th entitled Picturing Paradise, Blue and Green in Chinese Landscape Paintings. So this book you could check this book out before you go to the museum exhibit to study up. Oops, I'm just getting clumsy here. You could study up on Chinese painting, learn the deeper meanings of it. So then when you went to go visit the exhibit, you would kind of have a knowledge base to start from to then get more out of that artwork in person.
Very cool. So lots of materials here, lots of stuff that you can reflect on. What kinds of... So I know we talked about some of the exhibition spaces. What other library spaces do we have that can stoke creativity? So either one of you,
Well, the first space that comes to mind is the MakerSpace. And that is really a unique space within the library that you can learn how to use all sorts of software and hardware and create till your heart's content. So that is the main place. I think, and this might be a left field idea here.
Uh-oh.
It's not really an idea, but our study rooms and our conference rooms are places that people can go, writers and artists can go to get away. If you don't have a regular studio, you can come into a library study room and do creative work there.
Get some solitude. That is an excellent suggestion. Yeah.
I like that.
Quiet place for brainstorming.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions, Charles? Because if not, I have one last final question.
Go ahead.
Are you sure? Okay. I'm going to ask all of us to name our favorite public art permanent exhibit at one of our branches.
Okay.
And I can start if you'd like. And if you want to steal mine, you can. But because there aren't that many... And I'll start by saying Monticello has a great runner-up. I mean, it is fantastic. And if one of you choose that, I'll let you describe it a little bit more. But I really appreciate our giant 3-panel tile mosaic that is at the Leawood
Lenexa City Center.
Yes, I had Leawood Pioneer in my head. It's like Lenexa City Center Library, yes. And it's just amazing. I had the chance to see it installed, and it's got every letter from the alphabet and represented, and it's just a great nod to the joy of reading and the love of language. Who's next?
Well, I will absolutely echo that, Dave. And I want to put in a good word for the upcoming Merriam Library.
Yeah.
We will have permanent public art as part of that building too. We have sculptures on the outside of the building, and then we've got a couple of murals that will be on the inside of the building, mostly in the meeting room of that new library. And it's just incredible stuff. I'm very excited about what's coming up at the new Merriam Library.
Okay. Jen?
I will say one of my favorite spaces right now, it's not an art exhibit, but it could be, is the kids section at Central. I love the black handwriting style wallpaper with the white background, the orange benches that kind of circle and loop around the outside of the room, and then the huge windows that give you a view right out into a park.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So I actually was going to say the Monticello branch artwork there. Probably not the one that people expect. I think when people think of the permanent artwork on display, they're thinking of most likely Inside Out by Beth Nybeck, the two heads that you see as you go through the drive-through. I actually really like Jim Woodfill and Stephen Lichty's mediated set, which if you've been to that branch, you've seen probably some of the displays that look like deconstructed library carts. And that's actually one of the permanent art fixtures there, is these 7 different forms of carts, library carts, that they have deconstructed and then put together in unique ways. So as you're exploring the library, you can find all of those different examples of the mediated set.
Only art penetrates what pride, passion, intelligence, and habit erect on all sides, the seeming realities of this world. There is another reality, the genuine one, which we lose sight of. This other reality is always sending us hints, which, without art, we can't receive. Proust calls these hints our true impressions. The true impressions, our persistent intuitions, will, without art, be hidden from us, and we will be left with nothing but a terminology for practical ends, which we falsely call life. That was a quotation from Saul Bellow on Science and Art from his Nobel lecture in 1976. Well, today we talked about the arts in our Arts Extravaganza, and I hope you got the sense that art is all around the Johnson County Library, from the decisions we make in designing our building. They're pieces of art. There are pieces of art in the building. Sometimes they're hanging on the wall. Sometimes they're outside the building that are in the grass that greet you on your way in the door or through the drive-through, drop-off window. Art is everywhere. And of course, we have a wonderful collection. And so we've really tried to dive in to the arts and really talk about everything that we have to offer as far as the arts go.
Okay, so on our next episode, we are going to be introducing you to a second format of our podcast.
Right.
The Collection Deep Dive.
Yeah.
So on that episode, we're going to bring in our Reader's Advisory librarian, Greg Windsor, and we're going to uncover a quirky genre of books about book lovers.
Books about book lovers.
That's true. And that episode will be available on April 12th.
I find it amazing that there's a whole subgenre that can be about books about book lovers. Okay. Yeah. Well, until then, would you please consider subscribing at your favorite podcatcher, or you can listen anytime at our homepage, and that's jocolibrary.org/uncovered. And then look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. And remember, Johnson County Library provides access to ideas, information, experiences, and materials that support and enrich people's lives. And we create an environment for people to learn, to explore, to enjoy, to create, to connect. Before we leave you, we're always interested in hearing what you have to say. It's time for a short segment we call
What You Thinkin'?
So here are some of the 5-star reviews that you've shared online.
Josie K says, Blue Valley is a great place for meetings, can accommodate 50 individuals.
Paul M. says this about the Lenexa City Center Library. We visit each week. It is such a great library. Our daughter loves it. The space is well designed and furnished, making it feel as though you have the library to yourself.
Sheila T. says this about Antioch. Nice location, pleasant and comfortable. Good selection of books, and being able to place a hold and pick up books is very convenient. Staff are friendly and helpful.
Susahini R. says Cedar Row is the best place to spend time with books, friendly staff.
And Jennifer H. says this about Central Resource Library. The staff was very nice and helpful. I was very impressed that they clean and replace toys often. I took my 3-year-old nephew to get a few books, and he wanted to play with the toys on the tables. After playing for a while, it was their scheduled cleaning time. They moved us to another already cleaned table, replaced the bin of toys with an identical cleaned bin, and we were back to playing in no time.
JOCO Library Uncovered.
If you enjoyed today's topic, you might be interested in these recommendations from our collection. First, Charles' choices.
So my first pick today is The Big Book of Tiny Art by Karen Liebkap, Libecap. And the second one that I'd like to suggest is actually The Art of Podcasting. Everybody has a podcast except you, a how-to guide from the first family of podcasting And the author is credited as Justin McElroy.
I will look into that before our next episode. All right. The next is, a Dave's double feature. And so I invite you to visit the streaming section of our eLibrary, jocolibrary.org/eLibrary, and give Canopy a try. And so my picks there's a really good one called Banksy and the Rise of Outlaw Art. And there's Van Gogh, A Life Devoted to Art, but there's so many other titles, and so check it out. All right, and from our guests, Jen, what do you have?
So I'm recommending Nomad, A Global Approach to Interior Style, and that's by Sabella Court.
Excellent. And Brian?
I have a recommendation for all of the photography books on the street photographer Vivian Maier, Maier. We have 4 or 5 in our collection, and I am a huge Vivian Maier fan.
Yeah.
And we own the majority of photo books that are out there.
And I think you and I both discovered her through a documentary. I think it was called Finding Vivian Maier.
Finding Vivian Maier, which is what we have as well. And there are a couple of biographies now on her.
Yeah, just amazing. I can tell you all are excited over here. Our Charles and Jen are like, tell us about it. Well, you know what? We don't have to tell you everything. You can go explore a little bit on your own and learn. So finally, we're asking you on social media for your titles and what you recommend. So join the discussion online at facebook.com/JOCOLibrary and add to the list of art-related titles in our collection that you suggest.
JOCO Library Uncovered is a production of Johnson County Library and is recorded at the Central Resource Library in Overland Park, Kansas. We would love to read your thoughtful emails at uncovered@jocolibrary.org. Join our online conversation at facebook.com/JOCOLibrary. Look for us on Twitter at JOCO Library. Our website is jocolibrary.org. Subscribe to JOCO Library Uncovered through your favorite podcatcher or go to jocolibrary.podbean.com. Thanks for listening, and come back in 2 weeks for more JOCO Library Uncovered.